Hey everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me today, and I'm so glad at the response that we've received on our new YouTube channel as well as our new Facebook page. I will post the links in the description of this video when we're finished. But again, thank you so much for the support. It is overwhelming and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Now listen, I had no plans to shoot video today. It's a pretty day outside and I thought I might do some yard work, but life has happened, as I always say it does, and we just have to roll with it. I found out that my cousin has had some surgery and is not feeling so great, and so I wanted to cook supper to take it over to her, and then I had to go get a haircut, and then I was going to the grocery store. Well listen, I got my hair cut today and it turned out so stinking good that I thought, I'm not wasting this opportunity. I'm going to film video. So I'm just going to film what I'm taking to my cousin for her supper, hoping that it makes her feel better, because when she sees me with my haircut, it's going to make her feel better anyway. That's what I think. So anyway, we're making clam chowder today. I love clam chowder. And so does Brad. So it's comes in handy that he likes it too. He likes it a certain way. I've said before, everything comes down to preference. This is how I make it. If you don't like this method, you can make it the way you want to make it. But I will show you how I do it. So, you know, you can take a little bit from me and take a little bit from somebody else and put it together, and you're just going to come up with a big fat pot of wonderfulness. So, we shall get started. Now I have pre-chopped and pre-measured pretty much everything we're going to need, just because you don't need to spend time watching me chop vegetables, and I don't need to show you how to chop vegetables, because I think you know how to chop not a carrot but a piece of celery. I'm not using carrot today, but you could use carrot if you wanted to. I'm going to do these onions first. We're going to saute the onion and the celery. We're going to take it over to the stove. Now, in this pot, I have got some bacon fat. I fried off about 8 pieces of thick cut bacon, and I have strained off the little bits and pieces because, well, sometimes those little bits and pieces get the least bit burned and they don't taste good. So I strained it out. I've got what remains in the pan, and it's been heating up a little bit. So we're going to add the celery and we're going to add these onions. Now I chopped up, this is just one big fat onion, and it's well over a cup, I know. I'm not sure of the exact measurement, but it doesn't matter because we're just going to guess. He's in the pan. Look at that. Now the celery, what I did with the celery, I like the inside part of the celery. When you break off those big stalks on the outside edge, those are I don't like those for this particular dish. I just like to use the inside ones. They're nice and they're more immature. Well, what is it? They're younger, I guess, because they're not as fully grown, and they just taste better. So I have taken those and I have chopped them up into little bits. And I'm adding them to my onions here in the pan. And we are going to give them a little stir. And I forgot to turn the heat up, so there's no sizzling happening. But sizzling is going to start happening in just a few minutes. I hope. I'll put it up on high. Give everybody a little stir here in the pot. Now, the idea, as I get the hair out of my face, is to sweat these off until they're fork tender, because then we're going to add our stock and we're going to start making the base for the chowder. Now, chowder is an interesting beast because you can start with a simple base and build on it and go in any direction that you really want to go. Like we're going in the clam direction with this particular chowder, but the base would be the same for, say, my loaded potato soup or a seafood chowder, or if you wanted to make potato and corn chowder, you can just take off and go in any direction. As long as you have a good base, then you're covered, because this will take you anywhere you want to go. And I think that's exciting. Okay, so I got a little sizzle going. She's starting to warm up. I'm going to stir it up just a little bit. She's coming up to 10, but I left some in the bowl, and I don't want to miss it, so I'm going to throw it in here. Oh, we're sizzling. So I'm going to grab my lid. I'm just going to cover it so it'll start sweating a little bit. And once I'm satisfied that it has sweated just enough, then I'm going to add the potatoes. Now every clam chowder has to have potatoes. The potatoes that I have decided to use are of the gold variety. You can use a white potato, you can use a Yukon Gold, you can use a russet or an Idaho, but those potatoes to me have a different kind of interior texture. I just think that the gold or the white potato works better when you're cooking them down in liquid. I mean, think about it. If you bake an Irish potato or you bake a russet, when you pop that sucker open, it's nice and flaky and yummy inside, just the way you want it. If you were to bake a big fat Yukon Gold, I mean, it would be delicious, but it probably wouldn't be what you're looking for in a baked potato. So, don't do it. I mean, you can do it, but why? Anyway, so I chopped up, I think it was 5 just odd shaped potatoes. Even that to probably I've got at least maybe 3 cups here. And I have chopped them into small diced pieces because we want them to cook in the liquid in our broth, but we don't want them to just disappear and cook down to mush, because, well, that's not delicious, and who wants that in their clam chowder? We want to be able to chew on a tater. So I'm going to set it back down. I'm going to check the pool. Oh yes, we've got some good sweat. And that was Oscar. You hear him in the back? He's seen a squirrel out the window. And he can just hang on. Okay, this smells good. I've said it before, it smells like Christmas. Get ready to make dressing. Bacon, got onions. Hey, I'm ready to add my potatoes because this stuff has just got the least bit soft going on, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm reaching over for my taters. I'm just going to add them all, just dump them in one fell swoop. Boom. Look at that. Everybody's in the bowl. I'm going to stir them just a little bit. Alright, we're going to put that lid back on for just a minute. Now listen, if you wanted to do a seafood chowder, you can add shrimp, you can add fish, any kind of fish works, but when I do it, I usually go for a light fish like a flounder or even a cod works. But you got to cut cod into small pieces because it's a little bit chewy if you don't cook it the right way. But flounder works every time. You might use some snapper. I've never used snapper in a seafood chowder, but I mean, you could very well use it. You can use scallops. Now, I hate scallops. Those great big ones. Oh, I can't stand them. Brad loves them, but I don't put them in my chowder when I make seafood chowder. But I will put the little bay scallops because I like those. Now, I don't know why I like those, but I do. So I put them in. And even in my seafood chowder, you put a little corn, just whatever makes you happy. That's what I say. Now, as my potatoes are starting to get happy in the pond, I'm thinking about adding my liquid. Now this is seafood stock. Most grocery stores will carry it on the chicken broth aisle. This is 2 big 32-ounce boxes. I might not need it all, but I wanted to be safer than sorry. So it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Right? Right. So if you don't have seafood stock, if your grocery store doesn't carry it, you can use chicken. But, I mean, we're making a seafood-based chowder, so you don't really want it to taste like chicken, because we've already added pork, so for anything, we want it to be pork chowder. But you can if you want to. Or you could use a vegetable stock, and you could add a little bit of fish sauce. Just go to any Asian market and get you a bottle of fish sauce. It stinks to high heaven, but it is exactly what you need to give something that little oomph when you're looking for something that's seafood tasting. But this is, yeah, it smells like the ocean floor. And that's what we want in this regard. So let's go back and look at our kids in the pool. Oh yeah, I got a little bit of sticking going on. So let me put my lid down. Give everything a little stir. Okay, I'm happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and add my stock. And at this point, I'm going to add half of this. And then we'll judge what we're going to need, because we're also going to add milk at the end. I'm not going to be adding any dairy right now, because dairy has a tendency, if you bring it up to a boiling point, it's going to split and then it'll look curdled. And then you won't want to eat it, and then it'll be waste. So we don't do it. So just wait, slow your roll, we'll add the milk at the end. So here goes about 4 cups of seafood stock straight in the pool. That looks about right. But I know I'm going to need more, because this has barely covered my veg. Well, that's okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of it, because I know I need it. So here's another 4 cups straight in. And that'll take a few minutes to come up to boil, but I want to go ahead and cover it back, because covering helps retain the interior heat and it helps things boil faster. So cover your pots, people, cover your pots. Faster boiling. Alright, let's talk about clams. I don't live at the seaside. I live in the mountains of Georgia. So I don't have clams readily available that are fresh and good unless I want to pay a poo ton of money for it, and I don't, because I'm kind of cheap. So I just buy the ones that are in a little can that looks like a little thing of tuna fish. And it'll say minced clams, or it might say chopped clams. You don't really want to get the ones that say whole clams, because that's a mouthful. And clams are a little bit chewy anyway, so if you were going to make clam chowder out of whole clams, that would be a mess. I wouldn't want to come eat at your house that night, because you'd be chewing and chewing and chewing like you were trying to chew on a rubber band. Anyway, these clams are a mixed selection of the minced and the chopped. I usually only use chopped, but they only had like 4 cans of one and 4 of the other, so I bought all 8 cans of their clams. I have poured off the liquid because I wanted you to see what they look like. Now, they are not pretty, but they are tasty. And what am I saying? They're very tasty. I have saved the liquid because this is gold. We want this clam juice because it is wonderful for flavor building in our chowder. Don't you throw it down the sink. You save it because we need it. I guess I might as well go ahead and add it to the pot right now. In the bowl. Alright. That's 4 cups of clam juice. Now, I'm going to cover it back up and tell you what else I bought as an insurance policy. Now, you can buy this. This is a little 8-ounce bottle of, it says, all natural clam juice. It says clam juice and salt. So, I trust them. If I don't think that I'm going to be able to find the seafood stock, or if I don't have the fish sauce to make it with my vegetable stock, then I'll just buy a couple of these because they're handy and they have that underlying flavor profile that we want that's going to help with the clam chowder, because sometimes you don't have enough of the clam juice in the cans. So we just got a little extra. But I don't think we're going to need it right now because I did have that beautiful seafood stock. So I'm just going to put these right here until we think we might need them. I'm going to tell you a little story about bacon and clam chowder. Actually, it's a little story about bacon in this house. Now, when I start to build my chowder, like I told you earlier, I fry off some bacon because I want that fat for my onions and my celery to fry up in. Well, I have to be careful around here because Brad's a bacon hound dog. He loves bacon. He loves sausage too, but when he smells bacon cooking, his little nose just starts acting just like a rabbit, and he's on it. Well, he did, just like I knew he would. He came up here, and he smelled it, and he got to pilfering with stuff over on my stove, and he was looking for the bacon. Well, I, in my infinite wisdom, I tricked him because I knew what was going to happen. If I had left this bacon in the microwave waiting to chop it up on this board on camera, he'd slip in here and he'd eat my bacon. And so I chopped it up and then I stuck it in a ricotta cheese bowl and I just left it right here on the counter. He walked around here several times just looking for bacon, and I thought, I'm the smartest person I know. But of course he said, well, where is it? And I caved. I gave in. I let him have a little bit because, well, he's my sweetheart. And there's plenty of bacon in here. We're not really going to put this back in our pot anyway. We're just going to use this as a little bit of a garnish at the end. And so I shared with Brad. I know, I'm awful nice. Oh, and there goes the bacon. Brad, enjoy it, honey, but don't you eat it all because I got to have some for the end. All right. Okay, that's just the kind of household we live in. We just roll with the punches. I mean, something happens, oh well. Let's go check, see what's happening in the pool. Well, slow but sure, I see a couple of bubbles building. And it's smelling really, really good. Now, I realize that this is a gigantic pot of chowder and that you might not need to feed a lot of people, but I just can't cook for a few. I cannot cook for 2 people. It's to save my life. I just can't. It's not in me. It's not my nature. I am a food pusher. I'll feed anybody. So my recipes tend to be on the grandiose side of big. We can just always cut them in half or cut them in a quarter. It's just whatever you're going to need to do. But right now, this is a ginormous pot. And I'm tickled because it's looking good, it's smelling good, all the above. Well, we took a little break to let this boil for a little while because we want those potatoes to cook down just enough. So let's give them a try. Smells like a clam shack sauna in here. But that's good. Okay, here goes. I'm going in to grab one of these potatoes and give it the tender test. And that just means I'll take a bite of it. So here we go. It's just right. It's just to the point that we want it. So, congratulations. We can keep building. So, coming back over here to our little thing of clams, I believe that I'm going to go ahead and add the clams right now, and then we'll thicken it up because I want to talk to you a little bit about what I did to thicken it up. But I'm going to turn this pretty far down, just above low, so that it doesn't just trash these clams, because that would just be terrible. So let me put the clams in. Everybody's in the pool. Give them a little turn. my seasoning at this time. What I'm using is just the basics. I have used a full teaspoon of black pepper and half teaspoon of salt. Now I went light on the salt because that was store-bought stock that I used, and it's heavy on the salt. So I didn't want it to be just overpowering. So we can test it and see what the salt tastes like when we get everything put together. But right now, just a half a teaspoon straight in. And something I like to put in my clam chowder, I don't know if everybody does, but this is just me. I like to put a little Old Bay because I just like the way it tastes. Now I can't go crazy with it because it's got a lot of chilies, and sometimes it makes things a little hotter than we need. But I can definitely support going in for half a teaspoon in this big old pot of chowder. So here goes a half a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning. And gonna stir it around. Make it a little murky. Alright, so now we're ready to thicken. Now, thickeners, there's a bunch of different things you could do. You could do cornstarch if you wanted to. I prefer to use flour, but I've told you before in the sausage gravy video, flour is a raw product. You have got to cook it down. Otherwise, if you add it directly to the pot, it's going to taste like it's just not going to be what you're looking for. We're looking for something that's going to blend well with the flavor profiles that we've built up with that bacon fat and the onions and this celery. So let's just continue on that path as far as sauteing things down and look at what I have done. Now on the side, I have built this little roux. Roux is simply fat and flour cooked down until the flour changes in color, gets a little toasty. Now I have probably cooked this a little longer than I intended to, but I couldn't help it because I was busy. But it's still going to be delicious. I took about a half a cup of flour, and I know this is going to sound terrible, but it was at least half a cup of oil, and I mixed them together, and I ended up with what looks a little bit like peanut butter. And that's exactly what we want, because the flour has toasted down to where the raw taste is gone, and this is going to thicken up our chowder beautifully. And the beautiful thing about it is we can add as much as we need, and if I have any left, I'm going to put this in a container and I'm going to keep it for the next time that I might need to use something that needs a little thickening. So my broth is coming up to boil again, which is just right. I'm going to go ahead and spoon a little bit in. Now, I know I'm famous for not measuring, but I can't help it. I don't measure, y'all. I just don't. I'm going to try. This has, well, it's got to have at least a cup of stuff in it because I had a half a cup and a half a cup. So I'm going to go with half of this container. Well, it's not a container, it's a pan. I'm going to go with half a pan of my roux straight in, boom, and leave the other half. And I'm not going to stir it with that wooden stick. I'm going to get my heavy duty stick. And I'm going to stir it around. And it should start definitely showing a different consistency as those flour molecules and fat start working together with all that liquid, making a big thick blanket. And it is happening. It's happening right before our eyes, and it's so exciting. I love science. And cooking is really nothing but science. I mean, if you think about it, everything's just changing its original state. Oh, bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, look. It's coming up to a boil and it's just becoming exactly what I want to see in this pot. But I do want to see a little more going on, so I'm going in with a little bit more of my roux. And what the heck, I'm going to add it out. So the rest of it's going in. I'm gonna stir it around one good time here. Y'all, it smells so good up in here. Alright, stirring. Now we should be able to notice the consistency change here in a minute considerably. Here's my bowl coming back up, adjusting my heat because I had it up pretty high. Bubbles. I love it. Okay, I have got things to the point that I think we can get by with this because I'm not quite finished. Remember, we still have to add our milk and our cream because right now it's at the brothy stage that doesn't do a thing for me. I got to have a little dairy in it. Now Brad would probably like it just like this. Brad, you hush. Brad's not cooking this, I am. And I'm going to put a little bit of milk in because I like that undertone of the dairy in here. And he can just go eat it Dairy Queen. Okay. Here goes. Now I have measured out 2 cups of whole milk. You can use 2% if you want to. You can use skim, but I don't know why you've got skim milk in the refrigerator. It's just water. And this is a cup of heavy cream. Now it said whipping cream, but you're not going to find a container at the store that says heavy cream unless you're in England or somewhere. We've got whipping cream. So I'm going to add both of these to the pot. Here goes the milk. And then I'm going to hit it with my heavy cream. And I'm telling you, that heavy cream is the name of the game. If you don't put it in there, I can understand for dietary reasons. But it's sad to not put it in. I'm not kidding. Oh, this is fabulous. Oh, it just smells good. I'm pretty thrilled. Alright, I have got it on medium heat. I'm just going to let it bubble for just a minute. I'm going to step over here and get my parsley. Now, you know I love a fresh herb when I'm cooking with something. And something that has this degree of flavor profiles going on as far as the bacon and the oil with the veg. Not to mention all of that milk. We need something to brighten it up just at least a little bit. So this is just a little parsley. I'm chopping it up pretty fine because we don't want a big old leaf of parsley on our spoon, stuck in our teeth. We're just going to have these little bitty ones. So I'm chopping this up pretty fine. Looks like about at least 1 big heaping tablespoon. Now that's not going to change how things taste dramatically, but I like to think that I can at least tell that I've put it in. So I've got it right here. Now I am going to do one more thing before I put that parsley in. The parsley won't take long to cook, but I'm going to check the salt to see how it tastes. So, going in, got my spoon. It's perfect. What do you think of that? I have hit it on the head. I'm real happy with that. I think that anybody would be happy with this, and if they're not, tell them to take a, I don't know, what would you tell them? Take a hike. Go jump in the lake. Now personally, I would add just the least bit more Old Bay to this, because that's what my heart's telling me to do. But I can't, because Brad don't love it the way that I do. And I don't want to mess this up because he's going to eat this for his supper tonight. So I'm going to leave it the way he likes it. But the salt is just right on. You might want to add a little more black pepper because we've got a considerable quantity of chowder here. And black pepper is always a welcome addition. So think about just putting just a little bit more black pepper in. Put my spoon down. I'm going to get my parsley. Like I said, it's probably at least a heaping tablespoon, if not just a little bit more. If you don't want to use it, if you don't have it, you don't have to, and you won't be missing anything. But I like it, so I put it in. And we'll give it a stir. And it's about a done deal. At this point in the game, you take the lid, turn it down on low, and just let everything come together for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes on low. Make sure you keep stirring it though, because you don't want it to scorch on the bottom. Now, we're going to pretend like it's been 15 minutes, because I really want to take some to Brad, and I just won't tell him how long it's been sitting there. Got my bowl, and I got my trusty dipper. So, going in. I'm going to get me a dipper full. Just look at how lovely it has turned out. Ooh, look at that. That'll be enough for a taste test for him. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it over here to my board. Open up my trusty ricotta cheese bowl. And get a little bacon. I'm going to sprinkle at least a little bit of bacon on this, because that's how we roll. And then I'm going to get a spoon, and then I'm going to tell y'all bye, because I got to go find Brad. I've enjoyed being here with y'all. It's been a hoot. It smells good. I think you're going to enjoy making this. And if you do make it, leave me a post on YouTube or leave me a post on my Facebook page and let me know what you think. And as always, if you have suggestions for something that you'd like to see me attempt to cook, I'm game. I'll try it. I'll play your game. So just let me know. Golly gee, he might not get this. I might have to eat it. Anyway, thanks y'all. Bye.